Hey everyone, I'd like to apologize for being gone for maybe like a week. I don't know, I guess I have a strict upload schedule that I have to keep consistent. And by the way, my dad took me to see Colorful Stage, a Miku who can't sing, and it basically connected to me the most out of any movie ever. It was probably my favorite, I think, because it spoke to me the most. Sonic 3 is peak, but then again, you already know that. But as always, there's gonna be a bad review for something, at least somewhere, whenever that be Rotten Tomatoes, the audience score of Rotten Tomatoes, or it's Reddit, or the occasional review on DeviantArt for some reason, and Letterboxd, and in this case, YouTube. And I think we already know where I'm going with this one. We're talking about Matt Walsh's one. I know this has been talked to death, but I could not resist the opportunity to do this as myself. I know I'm 3 months late, but I don't know, I was still trying to get my craft together, plus making Friday Night Funkin' Rebooted and stuff. Anyways, with that said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I just want to make it clear that for those of you who disagree with me on Sonic 3, I just want to let you know that I don't hold anything against the idea of someone hating the movie. It's just that this video is so stupid and baffling and incompetent that I wonder why. Did he even pay attention? We'll have to see about that, but you're gonna have to watch the video and understand.
When a man becomes a father, he's called upon to make sacrifices for his family, and often these will be small sacrifices. Sometimes they'll be larger, though, more significant. And on even rarer occasion, the duties of fatherhood will require him to make the kind of sacrifice that, up to that moment, he would have thought himself incapable of making. These are the moments when a man must become a hero, and when he must lay his very life on the line. And this may take many forms. Perhaps he's rushing into a burning building to rescue his child from the fire. Perhaps he has to pull his loved one away from the path of a speeding train because they've been tied to the tracks by bandits or whatever. Or most harrowing of all, he may be compelled by his paternal obligations to go to a movie theater and watch Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
You seriously think going to watch a movie is basically more risky than saving your child from a train or going into a fire? Are you fucking stupid? Do you even know how parenting or danger works? Or are you just deaf in the mind? I don't know.
Now, a man in that situation would, of course, much prefer to be engulfed in flames or hit by a speeding train, but that would be the coward's way out.
Bro thinks committing suicide is the coward's way out of watching an entire movie, lol. Seriously, bro, what is your problem? You do realize that California Girls is actual torture compared to watching an entire movie just for the sake of your children, right?
He endures Sonic the Hedgehog 3 for the sake of his children, whom he loves. And over Christmas break, that is precisely the situation that I found myself in.
My dad has taken me to the movies several times as well, but you don't see him going on the internet to make a rant over something he hated for stupid reasons, as well as not even paying a cascade of goddamn attention. And he did not like Five Nights at Freddy's, but he wasn't really a dick about it. Meanwhile, you're just here talking and extending the runtime, and oh my god, actually concentrate on the actual topic itself, please.
Now, for the record, I'll say I greatly enjoyed most of the time that I spent with my wife and kids these past 2 weeks. We had a lot of fun together. We played football, we played outside, we shot BB guns, we played card games and board games. I completely wrecked my whole family in Monopoly 2 nights in a row. Wasn't even close. We took the kids ice skating. I was ice skating. My wife and kids were left dumbstruck by my gracefulness and elegance on the ice. They didn't say that, but I know they were thinking it. These were all wonderful experiences.
Listen, I'm very happy for you that you enjoy your time with your family, but could you please get to the point where you talk about Sonic 3? Can you actually talk about the story and whatnot instead of rambling and trying just to get to the 10-minute mark? I'd greatly appreciate that.
Yet things took a rather distressing turn on the final Thursday of the break when my 8-year-old son and 5-year-old daughter asked me to take them to go see Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And I did. God help me. God help me. I did.
Your kids have very good taste compared to you.
Now, before I offer my brief review of this thing that I hesitate to call a film, I must first acknowledge, in all fairness, I never saw Sonic the Hedgehog 1 or Sonic the Hedgehog 2.
First, you make a video explaining why adults should never play video games. Then you call anime satanic, even though it clearly fucking isn't and you're just dumb. Then you make a whole... And now, this. You seriously did not watch the first 2 movies. Are you kidding me? I, like everyone else with a functioning brain, had to watch the first 2 movies as well. I mean, seriously. How could you have made such a big blunder that you didn't even think to watch the first 2? Like, beforehand, or at the very least, watch it afterward, just to have proper context or something.
It's possible that one cannot fully appreciate the narrative complexities of Sonic the Hedgehog 3 without having seen the first 2 chapters in this epic Hedgehog saga.
Exactly, I can't even argue with that one. Good job on admitting that, lol. I mean, again, it's like having Toy Story 4 your first Toy Story movie, and then being completely confused about who are these people and why do I care? Or, an even better idea, that would be like watching My Hero Academia Season 6 without having seen the other seasons and going, what the heck is going on? Who are these people? And then and then you basically think, you come up to the wrong conclusions without even having to check out the others as first, or at least check them out after that. I don't know. But my point being, you basically admitted that you made a stupid idea about not even watching the other 2 before making your review. You had one job, Matt.
One job.
Maybe the other 2 movies are works of staggering artistic genius that would elevate the 3rd installment and lend it the sort of context necessary for me to have appreciated it and enjoyed it.
Spoiler alert, the first 2 movies are actually pretty great. Like, the first movie is pretty great despite some problems, and the second movie is genuinely a perfect sequel. Plus, it builds up on the original way better. It even fixes the issue with the first one and not focusing on Sonic characters that much and only really featuring Sonic and Eggman. But what we're really trying to talk about is, yes, you needed to watch the first 2 first if you were going to watch that, or at the very least just maybe watch them afterwards, just so you can have a clear context. I don't know. You'd be able to understand the characters' personalities by then. But no, you decided to sit down and do this already. Congratulations, dude. You have invalidated your own point. La-di-da. Oh, you really do not understand how reviewing works if that's your argument.
Instead of feeling like I was being waterboarded with high fructose corn syrup the whole time. But I doubt it.
As you'll see later on, this argument will become very relevant, and I repeat, very relevant. Like, this whole padding is just so we can reach 10 minutes already, but we're gonna get into the real meat.
I mean, this is the kind of movie where Jim Carrey plays 2 characters. One is the evil villain, and the other is the evil villain's evil grandfather in old age makeup.
Matt, my dude, you do realize that they have names. You can't just call them evil villains and that's it. No. Oh. The guys Jim Carrey is playing, there's Dr. Robotnik / Dr. Eggman, and who is basically the main villain of the Sonic franchise, and his grandfather is named Gerald. How did you not catch this up? Oh yeah, I guess it's because you didn't even pay attention. Yeah, I guess that's fair. Some people don't really even remember the names when they don't pay attention. That makes sense.
And the 2 break into an impromptu dance routine that makes no narrative sense but lasts approximately 87 minutes.
It's actually in character for them to do such a thing. I mean, they are literally maniacal villains who basically think they've won, and they're overconfident. Plus, they're very goofy. How would they not dance when they think they've won? How are you not reading between the lines, my dude? It's also played for comedy. Not every scene has to further the plot in some way, or be essential to the plot. It just sometimes has to be there for either a comedy or a character. Also, fuck you, this was peak fiction.
To move, so I make it harder. Don't hold back. If you think about it, so many people do be cool and look smarter. Don't hold back. And you shouldn't even care about those noses in the air and the crooked stairs. Don't hold back. Cause there's a party over here, so you might as well be here with the people care. Don't hold back.
Also, I forgot to mention this in the script initially, but it makes sense for Jim Carrey to do this because he's a comedian and he does wacky humor stuff.
It's the kind of movie where those same characters before the dance routine actually look directly into the camera and explain that they're being played by the same actor.
It actually works on both a meta level and a story level, especially when you consider the fact that they look kind of similar. And also because Jim Carrey literally played them both, and they had to come up with some way, anyway, to make sure that they were both on screen when he was playing both of them. There was probably a green screen effect for at least one of them, per scene or whatever. But with that said, it's literally also supposed to fit into the Sonic franchise. I mean, the games would do something like this, and the movies, it's basically fourth wall humor that's actually funny, especially if you know the context.
But the resemblance is uncanny. It's as if we're two characters in a movie being played by the same actor.
I must assume, and I think assume safely, that there is nothing in the other two films that would make this one any less obnoxious or horrifically stupid.
Go throw yourself into traffic.
Okay, so sarcasm and a clip that you should not be taken seriously aside, well, yes, there would be stuff that would help you tolerate the movie much better if you watched the first two. I don't know if you'd understood that, I just wanted to point that out. And apologies for the clip, I sometimes get really, really, really put off by some claims, if they're either stupid or just fucking abysmal enough.
I'm not going to bother explaining the plot of this film in any detail. I wasn't tracking it that closely, to be honest. I was mostly fighting to stay awake.
What the fuck?
And it's not a review if you're not going to talk about anything about the story. This will become apparent very later on, how his points are just the bleakest thing ever. I specialize in short reviews myself when it comes to this sort of thing, but I sometimes try to explain things about the story I like and don't like.
This is the kind of movie that bores you to the point of putting you to sleep, but also annoys you at the same time. It's kind of an odd combination to be both sleepy and deeply irritated simultaneously.
Yeah, he just said that. He literally thought it was both. Like, you didn't even pay attention to the action going on. You really are stupid.
As for the plot, I can only tell you that Sonic is the good hedgehog, which you may know.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Also, you're literally supposed to discuss the plot. That's the point.
There's also an evil hedgehog voiced by Keanu Reeves.
I'm sorry, motherfucker, but did you just call Shadow the Hedgehog an evil hedgehog? His name is Shadow. They say that across the movie many times, and you was too stupid or just too ignorant to pick it up. Maybe it has to do with the fact that you weren't paying attention. And still, he's not even evil. He's just out for revenge and because of what Gioan did to his best friend, Maria, after she got shot dead. And that was the only person he legitimately cared about. And then he got cryostasis or something for 50 years. And he wants to help Gerald blow up the world to avenge Maria. And you're calling him an evil hedgehog, even though he's more of an anti-hero, if anything.
And I like Keanu Reeves, by the way.
Me too. He's breathtakingly based.
You're breathtaking. You're all breathtaking.
But like every other voice actor in this film and most voice actors in most children's films that have been made for the past 20 years, he has no talent as a voice actor and doesn't understand how to act with just your voice. But he's famous, so that's good enough, I suppose.
Bro, that's an actual petty insult to all the voice actors who had to lend their asses and lend their talents in literally any movie they do. Granted, there are some times where the acting just doesn't feel really good in some movies. I haven't really seen in every single movie in the entire universe, so I can't say for certain, but I don't get why whenever anyone talks like actual people in live action or whatever, people take issue with that. That's kind of a pet peeve of mine. Like, I really enjoyed Rachel Zegler's performance in the live action Snow White, and she was talking like an actual real person would in real life. And guess what? He literally had to downplay the people who literally had to try their hardest as acting here.
So Sonic has to stop the evil hedgehog and his evil cohorts. That's the Jim Carrey dancing duo I mentioned earlier.
At least mention the villains' names, and also the anti-heroes' names. At least actually remember their freaking names. The only reason you remember Sonic's name is because his name is in the title.
From blowing up the world with a big laser. And, this has been the evil plan of every evil villain in every blockbuster franchise film for the past 3 decades.
Have you even watched some other kids' movies? Some characters want to avenge their loved ones. Others, as well, let's just say their motivations could have been fleshed out better, but they want to create a race war or something. I don't know. Look, it's more so about how they're written or whatever, or if they have an interesting motivation. Cliches can work, something that some people don't even understand, but who am I kidding? I'm trying to reason with a freaking adult. Last time I tried to do that, they called me a retard.
It's a formula that this movie is not interested in deviating from. This is not the sort of movie that deviates from formulas.
You do also realize that Sonic Adventure 2 is basically the inspiration for the Sonic movie, which it basically explains the whole Eclipse canon thing. And also, it doesn't have to deviate or whatever. It just has to be written well, and then boom, it's good. Unfortunately, I don't think you'd understand that. But then again, your entire review has basically just been you rambling and dicking around, trying to grasp at straws.
Now, if you're wondering why the evil hedgehog and the 2 Jim Carreys want to explode the world and murder 8 billion people in a cosmic blast,
at least try to reference their names, damn it. And also, stop calling Shadow an evil hedgehog. He isn't. He's simply misunderstood and out for revenge because the one person he cared about freaking died, and you're calling him evil. Trust me, just because someone is out for revenge and killing everyone doesn't mean they're evil. And I forgot to mention this earlier, but you do realize he turns good in the end, right? You do realize that he realizes that this isn't what Maria would wanted, and then he helps Sonic fight back.
I've been so blinded by rage, I thought I had no choice.
That they will also die in. It's because the older Jim Carrey's granddaughter, I think,
well, at least you got that part right,
was killed, and now he wants to commit murder-suicide because life isn't worth living. Like, that's real. That's in the movie. He actually declares his suicidal intention as well.
You're also forgetting that Jero Robotnik's sanity was lost because of Maria's death. And also, Jero is canonically suicidal in a way. And also, he's literally doing this to avenge Maria, especially considering how, in his words, humanity is a failed experiment. I mean, considering how sometimes humans just freaking suck, I genuinely get that. I know how it feels, even if I don't agree with them.
Now, if that seems like weirdly bleak and dark for a kids movie where the characters bust out impromptu dance routines and randomly break the fourth wall and constantly speak in internet lingo from 2019,
that's not actually a bad thing. I mean, movies like The Last Jedi are allowed to have more comedic and goofy moments. And as long as they don't overall disrupt the overall movie. This is one of those movies that's actually it has like the lighter moments, and it's in between all the dark stuff. Like the only time is quote unquote tonally inconsistent was when Shadow attacked Tom, and then Sonic interrogates Knuckles for the Master Emerald so he can go get the Master Emerald, only for Wade to be playing around with it in ice hockey sort of thing. But that was the only tonally inconsistent thing. And besides, it was at least fun. So I'm gonna let that slide. It's the same thing with The Last Jedi. I mean, sure, it does act kind of totally inconsistent, but it's not really big or anything. Besides, it does let the emotions sink in sometimes. It doesn't rely on these jokes the whole time. And whenever it does, it basically focuses on more making him brief and jokes or whatever than just, making him the whole thing. Unless we're talking about Canto Bite, I don't understand what they were doing with Canto Bite.
There's a lot of that, by the way. Just as one example, at one point, Jim Carrey says, "Damn you, autocorrect."
Autocorrect often makes mistakes, even today, which is why the joke makes sense.
If it seems weirdly bleak and dark for that kind of movie, it's because it is.
Family-friendly movies, and also I guess to some extent kids movies, are allowed to have dark themes and tackle mature topics. So by this logic, The Lion King is bad because Mufasa fucking dies.
This is a movie, like so many kids' movies these days, that schizophrenically darts back and forth from being ironic to painfully self-serious to goofy to earnest, and so on and so on.
Again, kids' movies or family-friendly movies are allowed to have dark themes and stuff like that, and also be fun. Kung Fu Panda 2 is such an example of that, because in the movie, the main villain, Shen, literally committed fucking panda genocide when Po was a child, and the only one who survived out of him and out of his family is his dad. And Po's mom literally had to save him by placing him somewhere safe where the wolves couldn't find him. And then he was raised by the ghosts. And then he has PTSD flashbacks whenever he sees that same emblem. It's called the message of inner peace and not letting trauma define us. That's what he learns in the movie, and you're dismissing it as a bad thing. Oh, whoa.
It doesn't try to smooth over these tonal transitions with good writing or performances.
I understand that mood whiplash is a thing, but this is not mood whiplash. It's literally consistent with the goofy stuff for the kids because, well, it's family friendly, but it also keeps its dark, mature themes. Also, the performances are excellent, which we'll get into in a bit. But seriously, how did you not pay attention to the writing? Maybe it's because of how, quote-unquote, too dark it is or something, I don't know. That must be why. My personal theory is that due to you not paying attention, you didn't even take a damn look at the writing. Maybe it was the part where Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles were all chained up at one point. Maybe that's what triggered you to think this is bad.
The writing is just terrible, and the performances are atrocious across the board.
Look, I understand in subjectivity and everything. That's cool. I get that you didn't like the writing, but let's be real. Maybe if you paid attention, you'd at least get something out of this. That's all I'm gonna say, mainly because you didn't actually pay attention and you admitted it. And as for the acting, they gave a damn. They grew into their roles over the course of over the movies. And yet, did it irritate you so bad that they were talking like actual people? Oh, and the people who voice acting for Sonic, Tails, Knuckles, and Shadow were basically voice acting the actual characters themselves. Also, listen to these clips, and I dare you to tell me that they're not giving a shit. Oh, and side note, if you see any letters in the background about Paramount copyright, please, it's because I don't want to get copyrighted for this.
Is Major
Ben charge? You've never seen anything like this before. In a world full of hungry little monkeys. Allow me to clarify. In a sequentially ranked hierarchy based on level of critical importance, the disparity between us is too vast to quantify. Agent Stone?
Yeah, there's more where that came from. Tiny magic hedgehog destroyed. Now let's begin our quest.
Oh, great. The Winter Soldier. For a guy named Knuckles, you are really bad at punching.
Surrender the compass. You're no match for me. I've been training for this my entire life.
And I have no training at all, yet here I am ahead of you.
I invented them. That's kind of my thing. In fact, my inventions are how I discovered you.
It's almost finished, Maria. You will have justice.
It's moving too fast.
You hurt my family. This ends now.
Now you know my anger, the pain I've felt for 50 years. And you've made the same choice I did.
I'm nothing like you.
We'll see.
Instead, it just flings it all against the wall haphazardly, because these are all bullet points that the movie studio knows it has to hit.
Says man who says that anyone who cries over Bluey, even when they're an adult, should be ashamed of themselves. And meanwhile, the Sonic movie, they literally had to change Sonic's original design, and that because of fan complaints. If anything, that just shows how they actually care about their fans.
Because this movie, again, like so many kids' movies these days, is not the fulfillment of anyone's creative vision. It is just the product of a corporate algorithm.
No, the fan base actually wanted it to happen. Plus, it's the first movie was successful, and that's what it gave it the sequel, and then Sonic 3. And meanwhile, while you're saying that, stuff like the live-action Lion King and the live-action Pinocchio, well, the one made by Disney, that is, are right there.
Because nobody who made the film actually cared about making a good film.
At least try to have an actual point instead of just expecting us to believe it. As big of an opinion-phobic bully as Diaz Station / Misanthropony / Zion Manetta is, he at least actually does his job as a critic to explain why he hates something without just making blanketed statements.
I mean, this movie could have been made by AI. We are at a point. If they start making movies with AI, we would not know the difference because they've effectively been doing that for 20 years now.
AI was only recent, like around the last 2 years or so. That's basically it, and it was never even big in 20 if it even existed. But honestly, you're right. We wouldn't even know the difference because it would feel so real. Well, kind of.
Now, you might respond here, as many people on Twitter did after I gave a very brief review of this film in a tweet on the site a few days ago.
Matt, you're forgetting one crucial detail. Twitter is notorious for being very toxic. And also, you do realize that you've stirred some major controversy.
You might respond that, well, this movie isn't for me. It's for kids.
It's actually a family film. That's why it's for kids.
Well, first of all, tell that to the other people in the theater with us. I can tell you that my kids were by far the youngest people in attendance. There were multiple groups of adults. Just adults, no kids. Whole groups of them.
You have just failed to realize that Sonic fans were there, and they've been there since the beginning, and they've also been waiting for like over 2 years to watch this movie.
Who bought tickets to Sonic the Hedgehog 3.
They're Sonic fans, and even if they're not, they're basically there because it's family friendly, and that's why adults are able to watch it.
Also, tell it to the multiple grown adults who got angry at me on Twitter for not liking the movie.
You do realize that Twitter is always like this. Look no further than Diaz Station, someone who has used Twitter before, and even when he's clearly stopped using it, he's still doing into things that he swore he would never do again, minus the burner account.
The funny thing is that a lot of those same people say, well, it's not for you, it's for kids. Why are you getting so upset about it then? Why are you tearfully defending a movie that you claim is not for you either?
2 words, Sonic fan base.
In fact, one person told me that my negative comments had upset, and I'm repeating this phrase verbatim, had upset the, quote, Sonic community.
Well, at least we acknowledge its existence, but for the record, the Sonic community has always existed since the freaking 90s, but they're more vocal nowadays concerning the fact that the internet is a thing. And of course they're not going to be happy with you having an unpopular opinion based on a movie they think is peak or whatever. Hell, even if you're not a Sonic fan and you love Sonic 3 or whatever, you're still gonna think he's having a hot take.
Now, those are not kids who identify themselves as members of the Sonic community.
I don't think the fact that it's a community for that adult old Sonic fans are able to be in a sort of thing has ever crossed your mind.
My 8-year-old loves Sonic, but he's not on Twitter furiously defending the Sonic community from its detractors.
Twitter is not for 8-year-olds. That's why he's not on Twitter. But, that's actually a good thing that he's not on Twitter because he'd become a toxic incel man-child.
So I agree that these kinds of movies are for kids, but I am not the one who needs to be told that, okay?
So by this logic, all family-friendly movies are just for kids.
It is possible to make a children's movie that, although it's for children, is still a good, high-quality piece of art.
Hey, look, we actually agree on that, but, isn't Sonic 3 that? Okay, I'm not saying that it's objective or anything, because all quality on movies is not objective. But still, how did you not pay attention? If you did, you'd understand that it is high quality.
I don't hate children's movies just because they're for children. Quite the opposite. As a father of 6, I've watched many, many children's movies. Okay, I've watched way more than the average person because I have so many kids.
I genuinely wonder how much sex you had if that's the case. But with that said, like, I'm happy that you don't hate children's movies and anything. Unfortunately, I guess there's some people who hate children's movies because kids watch them.
And I greatly appreciate the good ones. A few nights ago, just as an example, we watched the movie Iron Giant with my kids, and that's an animated children's film. It's also well written, beautifully illustrated, brilliantly performed, tonally consistent. It's funny and heartwarming, and at points it's sad, but it works all of that in a way that feels natural to the story. It's a children's film, and it's also a great film, one that I can watch and also enjoy.
I haven't seen the movie, so I won't even argue with that.
Because as it turns out, children's movies are not just for children, they're for parents too. Or at least they should be.
Oh, God forbid that a movie for kids just be for kids and not parents. You do realize that family-friendly movies are there, right? So by this logic, if it's not for parents, then it's not for anyone.
Okay, if a kid's movie or kid's show is so grating and so dumb and so unpleasant that parents can't stand to be in the same room while it's on, that doesn't mean it's for kids. It isn't for kids. It isn't for anyone. It's just bad.
Are you kidding me? You're saying that your opinion is objectively correct? Oh my god, who the fuck do you think you are? Diaz Station? Grow the fuck up, dude. I thought you were more mature than that, but then again you said anime was satanic, so I guess that you're not as mature as we all thought. But in all seriousness, how are you saying that if an adult hates the movie, even when a kid enjoys it, that means it's objectively bad? You never even bring up what your kids think of it.
And the fact that people say, well, of course it's bad, it's for kids, tells you everything you need to know about our culture.
It was never even a defense to begin with. Hell, it was actually the truth. It's not worth getting very upset over a movie, even if you really hate it. Besides, you're basically falling into the trap that Diaz Station often falls into. Yes, I'm making Diaz Station my punching bag from now on because of how much of an opinion folk he is.
They act like it's ridiculous to expect the content produced for kids to be high quality or to have any artistic merit whatsoever. But I tend to think exactly the opposite.
So by this logic, every movie in the entire universe that's for kids has to be perfect, or at least have some artistic merit. Otherwise, it's automatically trash or something, IDK. You do realize that stuff like Megamind vs. the Doom Syndicate exists. Besides, you can't just expect every children's movie to be good. That's boring. That's boring as shit.
I think content produced for kids should especially be high quality and should especially have artistic merit.
Well, yeah, me too, but I'm not gonna get on their ass if they like it. And I'm also going to just let them enjoy it if they like it. It doesn't have to be some high quality in your eyes.
Which is why I hated Sonic the Hedgehog 3. And why it is today, I must say, sadly, canceled.
Okay, so you think the movie is canceled just because you hated it. Good luck trying to cancel it, bitch. Okay, but seriously. This video was very, very bad. He didn't even talk about the plot at all and why he hated it. All he did was call Shadow an evil hedgehog and basically try and make nonsensical points as if he expects us to believe everything he says. As like he genuinely thinks that not paying attention is enough evidence to hate on a movie. And yeah, him hating Sonic 3 would have been fine if he had simply, I don't know, had the brain cells to understand that you can't just review something when you weren't even paying attention. And in return, all I have to say is, I do think he's somewhat better than Diaz Station because, he's not going on the internet calling people retards just because they have a different opinion, but still. He's still really controversial considering specific topics, like the one time he tried to sell himself in diapers or whatever, I don't know. And with that said, my job here is done. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Oh, and I hope you can comment down what you think of my video, and Sonic 3 as well. And I'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe, because I need subscribers. You can get weekly content or so if you subscribe.